We're going to start our study session. Um, just to make an announcement, on Monday, September 28th, there will be a public hearing on the JMA project. And then I have item number 9. I am going to call that ready, and I should know by Monday. Councilor Bay.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I have items number 10 and 11. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. In regards to item number 10, and I clearly missed it. I don't recall the 100 block of Cortland being a part of our earlier discussions with JMA. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing I remember from our discussions was a 1,000 block of South Clinton. And so that's my error for not noticing it in the short title, but I don't believe I had a discussion. I was a part of a discussion where the 100 block of Cortland was discussed. Is there anyone else who recalls Cortland being a part of the earlier discussions with JMA?
Now that I think about it, no.
Right.
The only thing I remember talking about was Clinton.
All right. We need to find out what the or maybe the clerk can alert us to what the proper procedure is, because I'm trying to figure out how the 100 block of Cortland got slipped in there if it wasn't discussed with us early on. But I don't think this item is going to do anything when it gets on the agenda without us getting some clarity on how that was added to the discussion without first talking to anybody on the council. So,
Councilor Bay, if somebody here from planning or zoning, they can explain how it was included in the letter to me, because that's how I went with the letter that was submitted to me.
Yeah, if they would, because, we met with them. I know we met with Gail from JMA at one point, and we toured their facility. And in those times, the only thing that was discussed with us was the 1,000 block of Clinton Street. And so the discussion on Cortland, to me, is a bit new, and apparently to the other councilors who are in on the discussion. I don't know if the responsibility is on zoning to try to clarify that. I think JMA might need to.
I believe it is on zoning, because I'm just following what they sent me, so I would assume they need to clarify this for you.
Heather, are you on?
Well, I mean, the short of it is we can't do anything with this legislation as far as I'm concerned. And so, I mean, clerk or anybody have to tell me what's legal here. My intent would be, I know the public hearing is scheduled and so it has to happen, but in regards to the item, I don't intend to move that item not without some clarity. And I don't know that I would support the 100 block of Clinton Street being shut down.
You mean Clinton or Cortland?
Cortland.
I'm sorry, Cortland.
Okay, because I'm just looking at it, isn't their Cortland part of their parking lot? Isn't that Cortland?
It's a street. It's not. They're trying to abandon the street.
No, I never heard that.
Yeah, me either. So maybe somebody.
I think what Council President's saying is sometimes a street runs through a period of land that's not developed into a street yet. It could be part of their parking lots that's designated as Cortland Street, which I'm not sure, but I'm just saying, for example, our parking lot across the street is part of what used to be.
Mr. Clerk, we're clear on what Cortland Street is, and none of us was in support of that idea because we didn't discuss it. So the concern right now is what do we do moving forward, because we're not moving that item for a vote.
Okay, well, we'd have to go back to square one, and they'd have to resubmit a resolution to me from the Planning Commission without Cortland Street in it. That's procedurally what would have to happen.
All right, let's do that then.
Councilor Bay?
Yeah.
I'm here. Okay.
Sorry, this is Jake Dishaw, Director of Code Enforcement. I know Heather was having some technical difficulties this morning, but preliminarily, back before this came in, I know it's always been a plan to kind of make that a campus-wide area, and there have been discussions with Centro and with the fire department and with the water department on how a lot of that could be reconfigured.
Jake, I appreciate that, but I'd rather hear from Heather right now. And it doesn't matter who they talk to; they didn't talk to us.
Okay, so I'm here. I'm just in a different office because I have no camera or microphone on my work computer. So, okay, the district plan, the zone change, and the yeah, that was it. The district plan and the zone change both had both streets abandoned, both blocks abandoned. So that was part of their overall wide campus plan. So that was, the district plan was approved, which has that extra, which has Cortland and Clinton in there. So this was just the companion piece that the Planning Commission approved. And they did stipulate that no physical structures could be within this, in these former right-of-ways if you do approve it. And then it would just remain like visually open. And plus there are so many utilities under there, they really couldn't physically build upon them anyway. So the abandonment was the companion piece to the district plan that was already approved by council and planning commission. So that's always been in there. It's not additional, if that helps.
Well, then that's why I stated. Then I'm sorry bad for missing it because that was kind of slipped in there as far as I'm concerned, and it seems to be the position of some of my colleagues as well. So that item will not move. Whatever the process is for sending it back for discussion, we need to do it.
Councilor Bay.
Yes.
I was wondering if I could make a comment regarding this, but not regarding your specific issue. I'd like to thank you, Councilor Bay, and I want to comment on this, not so much on the JMA project, which I support, but the consequences of this project that I've just become aware of is that Catholic Charities is considered moving its men's shelter from its current location to the Park Avenue neighborhood, and I just want to go on record as strenuously opposing this move. Over the years, I've seen the resurgence of the Park Avenue neighborhood, led not only by small developers, but who saw the potential of the neighborhood so close to downtown, but principally by the neighborhood residents who have, through their blood, sweat, and tears, have taken a forlorn, dilapidated, abandoned neighborhood to its place as one of the finest in the city. Over the years, as a city councilor, I deal in facts and I support the mission of Catholic Charities, but the simple salient fact of the matter is this shelter will have a strongly adverse effect on the Park Avenue neighborhood. It simply does not belong there. I have talked to the mayor at length on this subject, and he's declared his neutrality. I'd like to remind the mayor of his main responsibility to protect the stability and integrity of the neighborhood. There's no planned Switzerland here. I strongly oppose this move, and I will fight it with all my heart. I thank you, Councilor Bay.
Councilor Bay?
About that, Madam President. Councilor Hogan, I appreciate that. You know, similarly, this is certainly a project that has a lot of value for the city. I have concerns about the fact that there may have been a little bit of a transparency issue. And again, the error is on us if we missed it. Because most certainly if it was brought up to us in conversation, I would have expressed my opposition to the closing of the 100 block of Clinton. And I believe that is the position of some of the others as well. But we just need some clarification because that wasn't a part of our discussion. Again, the error, I'll certainly take my responsibility for this and that. And I don't speak for anybody else. But we need some further discussion on that item before we can move forward. We would probably, if we simply close that street, we would receive a lot of flack from people who travel that street and people in the neighborhood in general for closing it without anybody knowing about it. So This just wouldn't be a good move. And so whatever the process is for us to have further discussion to determine what to do next in regards to the 100 block of Cortland, we need to do, but we cannot move this to a vote at this point.
I support your position, Counselor.
And we've had a lot of discussion about Main Street, but not so much about the Cortland part. I do see Gail was on right now. Are you going to say anything? Because I do remember the conversation about Clinton, but not so much of Cortland.
So do I, Counselor Allen. So Gail is on.
She's talking. I know. We can't hear her. And I notice we have a bit of a bad connection overall right now.
Yeah, she's unmuted, but Gail, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. She's still talking.
Well, as I mentioned, Madam President, and I don't know if, obviously discussion could be had even between now and Monday, but I don't know if there's enough discussion or enough time for us to make the decision to close the 100 block of Cortland. So at any rate, Mr. Clerk, whatever the process is for so maybe sitting in the back or even holding it, like I said, I know the public hearing has to happen, but that public hearing with this particular piece of information may not go the way we want. So if we can give consideration to whatever the process is for having further discussion and receiving further clarity, maybe on why that wasn't discussed early on. Maybe, I'm not suggesting it was purposefully omitted, but none of us remember that being a part of the discussion when we talked about abandoning roads. So if it's all right, that's my position on that. We can move forward. Item number 11 is ready, Madam President, unless there's any questions from my colleagues.
Okay,
All righty, hearing none, I'm gonna move on to Counselor Rowe.
thanks.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 12 is Dave Proackon to briefly introduce and describe. His item is the cash capital for the IT. It's similar to what it was previously, except I think it's $100,000 less than it originally was, which was just cut across the board from the projects that he could lower that way. If there's anybody who wants to add anything other than that, I think it's ready, a cleared committee. But are there any questions?
What was the $100,000 cut? What aspects of it was cut? Do you know, Tim, or is Dave on?
If Dave's on, Dave answer it. But the answer in committee was basically he took it across the board, and maybe there was one project that he couldn't really take it from without damaging it, I think was the answer. Dave, if you can just share the variance, or somebody tell Dave Proack to share the before and after of this, just so Councilor Driscoll and everybody else can see.
Councilors, Frank Kaliba, I will make sure that Dave sends along the detail, but you're correct. It was taken across the board with the exception of a single project, a fiber project, I believe. But we'll get the specific details to the council before Monday.
Okay, thank you. So I anticipate that being ready on Monday. 13 is Commissioner Clifford on.
Councilors, good afternoon. I'll be happy to speak about this lawsuit settlement in executive session on Monday. Just generally speaking, there's a number of years that we've been sued by National Grid and over their headquarters properties and the adjoining parking lots. We believe we've come up with a settlement that's in the best interests of the city. But once again, I'd be happy to discuss this in more detail in executive session.
Okay, so 13, 14, and 14 is the bonding for how we pay for 15. 15, I had just said, how are we going to pay for it? Would there be a budget reduction? But there's not a budget reduction. It's just we're issuing bonds to pay for it. So 13, 14, and 15, we can discuss in executive session on Monday.
All righty. Thank you. Counselor Green.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 16 is a parking item. So I guess Corey, if I could.
Yep. Thank you, Counselor. So we're asking that this item be held one last time. We didn't get since the issue was raised, and thanks to Counselor Rudd for raising it on September 14th, we missed the deadline, which was the 11th, to get the letters in. So the new letter is on its way and will be on the next agenda. So we just ask that this one will be held again for this meeting.
Okay. Item 17 is a DPW item. You want to have Commissioner Robinson or Corey speak to that?
Yeah, Neil is on, and go ahead, Neil.
Sorry, little technical difficulty. This item is just a standard agreement with New York State as part of our fiber optic trunk replacement program. We'll be laying some new fiber that'll end up in New York State DOT's right away in the 690 right away as it transitions from the line on Burnett to Canal Street, where the traffic management center is. This is to support the existing signal interconnect system and its expansion. The current fiber trunk is pretty old, and it's in varying states of disrepair. So this is a standard item, standard agreement with New York State DOT.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Item 18 is engineering. Mary?
Good afternoon, counselors. 18, 19, and 20 are in regard to a new grant that we received for the Outer Eastwood Sewer Inflow and Infiltration Study. This is really a second study to follow up on the Eastwood Sedgwick study that we just completed. The geographic area is Midler Ave to the west, Burnett Ave to the south, and the eastern city boundary line and the northern city boundary line. Item 18 is authorizing seeker, which will be a type 2 action since it's just a study. Item 19 is the application and agreement with New York State EFC for the grant amount of $50,000. And item 20 is the 20% local match, stating that we will meet it by providing in-kind services from engineering staff and DPW staff.
Any of these? Okay. Item 21.
Item 21 and 22 are related to the Hiawatha Boulevard Bridge Sidewalk Improvement Project. Actually, on the short title of 21, that's a typo. That should really be amending the project authorization for the Hiawatha Boulevard Bridge Sidewalk Improvement Project. We are receiving additional Marchicelli funding on this project. So the legislation is not changing any additional project costs. It's just acknowledging the additional reimbursement of Marchicelli money in the amount of 14.8%. So item 21 is amending our project authorization for the project to include that additional reimbursement, and item 22 is amending the agreement with New York State DOT, acknowledging the reimbursement.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mary. Those are my items, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilor Majoke.
Thank you, Madam President. I have item 23 to 25. Item 23, we have received recommendations from the police department. We have also received from law and CRB. At this point, I think is much healthy to give councilors enough time to digest those and have a deep dive into this and to have discussion on Monday. But if anyone have any questions in regards to the legislation itself, they are welcome. What I would recommend is let the other two items go first, and then let's have a discussion for those and for anybody that has questions. But that's what I would recommend, that we give each other enough time to look at those recommendations. So let's go with item 24 first. Is Chief Cecil around?
Yes, I'm on here, Counselor. I'm actually driving and I'm going into an area with bad reception. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, refer these two questions to Lieutenant Lutz, who can answer them.
Okay.
But these two were already done in committee, weren't they?
We have.
Counselor?
We have. So, do anybody have questions on them?
Counselor, not a question, just a comment on 24. Again, it's like a broken record on this. I say it, I think, every year when things like this get brought up. I just really think that it'd be beneficial for the city to look into investing into creating its own full training center. There's nothing in the region that like it. I think there's plenty of places, other municipalities that are looking for ranges to shoot at that have different types of training facilities along for police and fire. And I really think it's something that we should look in investing in.
And Council, I agree. When we had this discussion, when we discussed this item in the committee, it was one of the points that I also raised. So I think what you are saying is such a valid point, and we should.
Councilor Majoka, if I can just add, the location we have off of Hiawatha Boulevard where fire is, we've always looked at the potential of building that out. The fire range part of it may be an issue, but we have also looked at building that out, but finding funds to do so.
Thank you. Councilor Carney, are you all set? Okay. Anybody else? All right. So those two items, Madam President, are all set. So does anyone have a question on 23? If not, President, those are all my items. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Allen.
Thank you. I have items 26 and 27. Both of these items passed committee. 26, they're just extending the date due to COVID. They weren't able to have this conference back in March. So they're just changing the date out to, I believe, December. So 26 is ready. And then 27, of course, that one was for the county to pay the $55,000, up to $55,000 for the code enforcement officer to do the pre and post inspections. And both of those items are ready.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 28 and 29. 28 is to nominate Neil Burke to the Central Board, and 29 is to nominate Shayla Thurrott to the Central Board. We had a brief meeting on this last Thursday, and seemed like most folks were comfortable with this, so I'd call these items ready and push them forward unless my fellow counselors or anybody else had any questions on them.
You're only doing those two? I see a third name on there.
It's two names on each line.
We have yes, the way the requirements are is that we have to put two people up for each position. We have the person that we strongly recommend, and then someone there as a backup. Should the state refuse the first person, then we have another name on the line. So that's why there's two names put up as per the requirements for the nominations. The council does have 3 positions available. There is a third position, but we continued to run a lot of what has held up these appointments in the past has been trying to get all vacancies ready at the same time, and we continually run into people that have conflicts or change their mind and unable to make the commitment. So we figured we would move these 2 appointments forward, and we are still working on clarifying the third appointment as soon as possible. I hope that clarifies everything. If anybody has any other questions.
Madam President, can I point something out before the meeting adjourns?
Yes.
There was a standing committee meeting on the flu shot that was held under Councilor Piniagua's committee, but somehow the letter didn't get to me, and that's why I didn't make the book. I talked to Evan during the meeting and he indicates he's going to get me the letter this afternoon. It was discussed in a standing committee. And the only way to get it on at this point would be by waiver. And I do believe the flu shot clinic is starting before our next meeting.
It starts on October. It's the first. It's we are administering the vaccines, and then there's 2 days following that. Actually, there's a letter. It already went out, and it was announced. Right? The letter, the email.
I do appreciate and I do understand that, and I do understand. When does the clinic start, Counselor?
October. If I'm mistaken, it's done.
Yes,
yeah,
it's
it
Donna
is October.
Briscoe, Director of Human Resources here. Yes, it's the 6th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the 6th.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't have time to get it in for the next agenda. I'm a stickler about those waivers. I'm gonna let it go this time, but we gotta make sure those letters get turned in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. I'll make sure it gets on by waiver so we can accommodate the clinic. And like I said, it was a letter not provided to me. It did go through the standing committee though.
John, I understand that. This is Sharon. Councilor Helen, I hear you completely. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
All righty, and with that, I guess we're done. So I need a motion to adjourn.
All right,
Yes, I hear you.
Madam President, is Councilor Rudd there?
Yeah.
This is Chief Proack. I was a little bit.
Did you want to describe the only question we had on the item was the exact variant? You could, if you just send it by email, that's probably sufficient.
Yeah, email would be fine, Dave. I was more just curious than it being an issue that would hold up the item. I was just curious where what the cut involved and
Okay.
you know what was included in that.
All right, I'll send that to Councilor Rudd. You can share that.
Just send it. Make sure just send it to the whole group is fine. That
Will do.
way someone has it, and I don't have to forward it.
Will do. Thank you. Bye.
All righty, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All right.
All right.
See you Monday.